Hey there guys, Simply H here, coming at you with my first of Warra-Warra What-What. What is Warra-Warra What-What? Well, Warra-Warra What-What is basically me Warra-Warraing and talking about what you guys asked me. I had a really good response from Facebook and from YouTube for the Q&As, so I decided I'm going to do it as a series, and I went with the first one that I saw, or that I can remember seeing, and that is Nerd of the 80s. Nerd of the 80s question, obviously being from the 80s, wanted to know what was my favorite TV show, favorite movie, and favorite song from the 80s. And obviously that's very difficult to choose just one of each of those, because obviously we're talking about a whole decade's worth of music, a whole decade worth of movies, a whole decade, and so forth. So what I did was I tried to put a bit of a criteria to it. The criteria was that I have to at least remember watching or listening to whatever it is in the 80s, and I was trying to remember how I felt about it in the 80s, remembering that I was born in 1980, so a lot of my formative things only really started happening in the very late 80s and then the 90s. So this is just things that were in the 80s and that I watched in the 80s or listened to in the 80s. If I had to do this as like my childhood or whatever, a lot of the answers would be different, but because I'm doing this as the 80s for Nerd of the 80s, tell you a bit more about the Nerd of the 80s. He is a YouTuber, him and his daughter. They both have YouTube channels, and they often star on each other's channels. They do a lot of unboxings, they do reviews, they do comic book hauls, all goodies like that. So I'm obviously going to link them in the description, and yeah, you guys can go have a look at that. And then to get back to my answer, it is quite long-winded, obviously, because of all the things. So what I did was I put a more comprehensive list in the description below, but for each category I came up with 5 in no particular order, except for the one, because I have to choose one of each. So obviously the one would be the one that I would choose out of those. But for the movies, I went with Daniel LaRusso, Karate Kid. Had to go with that. That was one of the movies that I watched over and over as a kid. I also went with, believe it or not, Dirty Dancing. Yes, it was my sister's favorite, so we watched it quite a few times. Back to my favorites again, Top Gun. Watched that a few times. Obviously Ghostbusters, was a big fan of Ghostbusters at the time. And then finally my number one movie that I can remember getting the thrills and the spills for, watching it over and over, if not at my house, at friend's house, what have you, is Bloodsport. Yes, go have a look. It's a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. If you don't know about it, I don't know where you were in the 80s, but it's probably a lot cheesier now than it was, but it was really one of our like hero films back in the day. The next category I'm looking at is my 80s TV. This is more like the evening TV time that you would watch with family and what have you. So I went with Married with Children, which was really funny. Knight Rider, obviously you can't go wrong with that car. You can't have a list of the 80s without McGuyver and Airwolf. But my all-time favorite, I remember I had duvet sets and I had figures and all these things, has to be dun, 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 dun. Yes, the A-Team. That was my favorite show in the 80s. Then Saturday mornings, what we used to watch, Obviously, in the very younger days, favorite was Postman Pat and his black and white cat. Gummy Bears, bouncing here and there and everywhere. Garfield and Friends, I watched that over and over as well. DuckTales, very big fan of that. But my number one Saturday morning TV show has to be the G.I. Joes. I collected those guys. I had hundreds and hundreds of them hanging around. Oh, I didn't put He-Man on here. He-Man was also one of them, but I was more into the figures in the show. I don't really remember watching too many of the episodes, really. It's definitely from the 80s. Oh, I'm doing this on the fly. I'm changing it. Number one is He-Man. Number two is G.I. Joe's, and then we'll throw Postman Pat to the curve, so that makes my 5. I can't believe I forgot about He-Man. I mean, really, I have the power. He-Man. I definitely watched that quite a few times. Then music. Again, it's back in the 80s, back at that time I was very young, so I was trying to kind of remember what I used to hear or what I used to listen to as a kid, and my number one is for sure, there's no doubt about it, it was definitely in the 80s that I listened to it and enjoyed it. But the other ones are, I'm sure I listened to it in the 80s, and it's not again, it's if I were to go with my musical taste of now, music from the 80s that I like now is a little bit different. But anyway, Born in the USA, obviously. Born in the USA. Walk Like an Egyptian. Obviously, Eye of the Tiger. Which means my films doesn't have Rocky, but maybe Rocky wasn't. The first one was before the 80s. Either way, I don't know. Let's carry on. Karma Chameleon. Karma Chameleon. That was definitely there. And then my number one, the one I'm choosing as my answer for this, because I had the hugest crush on her when I was in about grade 2 and so on. I can still remember that. We had the LPs and all that stuff. And it has to be Kylie Minogue and Locomotion. Come on, do the locomotion. And yes, so that is my Nerd of the 80s answers. For my movies, I had to go with Bloodsport. For my TV program, I had to go with A-Team. For Saturday morning, on the fly, I changed it to He-Man. And my 80s song will have to be Kylie Minogue, Locomotion. Guys, please tune in again. The next episode, I will be answering the 2 geeky girls question, and obviously I'll leave the question for that, but I've done all the research for it already, and I'm looking forward to answering it. Like, comment, subscribe, go check out Nerd of the 80s and his daughter's channel. Charlie Quinn is her name. I think that's also the name of her channel. I might be wrong, sorry if I am, but I'll link both the channels to the description just to be sure. And yeah, have a good one. Like, comment, dislike if you have to, share if you care, and even if you dare, you can share. But either way, yeah, stay tuned for more Warra-Warra What-What. Yeah, I'll try and do another episode soon. Have a good one, guys. Cheers, bye.